discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
You're listening to Roundtable with myself, Heyang. I'm joined by Steve Hatherly and Fei Fei in the studio. Coming up, work, dating, socializing, buying a house, all that adulting can be suffocating, right? But when we do escape, is it fear or bravery? And if we break free, where do we go? For those who left the big city for a smaller one, what now? And need a boost to crush the week? Our special segment, Motivational Monday, is your ultimate adrenaline shot to kick things off strong. Our podcast listeners can find us at Roundtable China on Apple Podcast. Got a question that's keeping you curious? From social issues to tech and everything in between, let us take a stab at it. Email us at roundtablepodcast@qq.com. Emails are fine, but voice memos are always better because we're a radio show/podcast after all. And now let's switch gears. Can escape lead to freedom? A few years ago, many young people in China saw small cities as the perfect escape from the madness of big city life, and at least that was circulating on social media. In Heyang, a small city in northeastern China, for less than 50,000 yuan or less than $7,000, they could own a home, where in metropolises such as Beijing or Shanghai, that same apartment would cost millions of yuan. But now, a few years on, the question is, has this bold move paid off? How are these young people adjusting to life in a quieter city? And what comes after the escape? So give us a recap on the so-called escape to Heyang phenomenon that took off on social media a few years ago.
Yeah, so the city of Heyang is located in the northeastern part in the province of Heilongjiang. It sort of borders with Russia. So it's really, really cold in winter, and this winter normally would last for at least 5 months. And a few years back, the housing prices of Heyang caught the attention of many young people because it's really low. And as of December 2024, I think the price still stayed really low. It's priced about $300 per square meter. So if you want to buy a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom really small apartment, you can just use like between $4,000 to $7,000, and you can own a 1-bedroom studio.
Okay, so when you said own a home before, we're not talking about houses.
Oh, they're apartments.
Okay, got it. So maybe 1, 2, 3-bedroom apartments in a high-rise building.
Yes, and okay. that's proved to be really popular among a lot of young people who don't want to stay in the hectic lifestyle in big cities like Beijing and Shanghai, and even like second-tier cities like Suzhou or Zhoushan. There are young people flocking to Heyang to sort of as an escape. And then right now, and Heyang caught the attention is not only because of the low price of the housing, but also because the city is being experienced population loss over the past 1 or 2 decades. Because Heyang used to be famous in its coal mining businesses. And with, the transformation of the economy and with the coal mining start to run low, and the businesses were sort of start to go down, and the population, the local young people start to flock out of the city of Heyang and in seek of job opportunities in other parts of China. So for Heyang, between the year 2013 and 2021, its urban population has been decreased by 17%. So it's a very small city in China's standards, maybe not internationally. Its urban population is more than 700,000. And right now, I think Heyang is also struggling economically because it is still not able to find a new industry, new growth point for its local economy apart from coal mining. So for local people in Heyang, their income is also not really high. That's also one of the reasons that a lot of young people who flock to Hegang as an escape, they kind of have a job that can work online, work remotely. So they don't have to, or some of them, they work part-time in Hegang. They work between jobs to make a living.
So in theory, this is good news for the local economy, right? Since you've got this population loss, but now you've got lots of outsiders of young people, millennials and Gen Z, to come into your city and buy property here, then that's injecting life into the local economy. Isn't that, like, from the local economy's point of view, then a great thing?
It seems like it, doesn't it? Because you're seeing a reversal of a trend. You've got a small city here, and it's, when you say small city, from an international standard, this might still be considered a pretty big city of an urban population of over 700,000 people. But again, by Chinese standards, this is considered a very, not just a small city, a very small city, correct?
Yeah.
So this was a coal mining town. And back in the day, it was thriving, economically speaking, because of the industry, but then that industry dried up. You had young people moving out to bigger cities for better opportunities for their lives, which is also an international trend. In America, everybody wants to go to New York City or Los Angeles. Here in China, I guess would be, big cities like Beijing and Shanghai, for example. But now it's the reversal of the trend where the young people that were leaving before, maybe not the same young people, but still young people want to come back now. You used the word escape before, Heyang. Perhaps to escape what was so attractive before, the hustle and bustle and opportunity of big city life. Maybe people are looking for something different now.
And also, to put it in perspective for perhaps our American listeners, this is kind of like you've got young people not suddenly, over the course of a few years, go to a smaller city or town near, let's say, Detroit. Like, I'm Chinese. Even I've heard that the housing price is super low in Detroit. If you're from Detroit and you feel differently, write to us. roundtablepodcast@qq.com, all right? And so a few years ago, actually, I've even seen news reports in China saying that, now the housing price is so low in Detroit, in America, it's seen as, maybe a good investment idea. But actually, a few years later now, I think maybe we have a healthier understanding of the housing market. That is, it's not always going to go up, and location really determines the future of the housing price, whether it's going to go up or down. And with Hegang, it seems like it's been linger on in the rather down area. So I think for young people, when they make this investment and also this big decision, even if, let's say, you're not going to stay in Hegang or the likes of these small cities permanently, but they're still going to be there for a year or maybe longer. And even if it's a relatively cheap price, as we've demonstrated in this discussion, but it's still putting your sort of upending your life and then going there. And even if you're doing the digital nomad thing, it's actually a privilege that you can work remotely or just do some kind of work that brings in a little bit of revenue. It doesn't have to be a lot, but as long as it covers your daily expenses, that kind of thing. And could you guys walk us through what led people to engage in this decision in the first place? And also, a few years later now, how are they reflecting on that decision?
Well, I think according to the nonfiction writer Li Yingdi, she spent 3 years tracking these different individuals who really moved to Hegang and stayed there for a few years. And the reasons can be very personal. Some of them don't want to social with people. And Hegang seems to be the perfect place for those who knows nobody in the city and they can just stay in their own apartment with their cats and doing their jobs. And their spending is also to the minimal because Hegang is also the cost of living is also very low. So they can sort of stay in isolation as they want. But then there are also other people who stayed there for a few years and then decide maybe the opportunities in Hegang are not enough for them. So some of them actually leave Hegang and move to other parts of China or even the world to seek new opportunities. And so I think there are different reasons but it's definitely is sort of a stopover location for these young people who got tired of all the busy life in big cities. And Hegang offers the perfect haven for them who want to seek maybe a few years of silent or quiet life and slow life.
Yeah, I mean, we could be witnessing just an attitude shift. I was trying to find if similar things are happening in Canada or the US or the UK, and I found the answers to be yes, yes, and yes. And I stopped on one website. It's called dazeddigital.com. You can have a look online if you like. And they were talking to a couple of people about why they wanted to get out of London. And London is kind of the same thing, apparently. I'm not British. In fact, I've never been there before. But from what I've read, it's kind of the same thing. You know, young British people, they dream of going to London. It's one of the most famous cities in the world, opportunities and blah, blah, blah. One guy, Jack, this is what he said. He said, I'd run out of energy for living in London. It's the greatest city in the world. He's British. But I was no longer finding fulfillment in being there. And I wanted to spend my time more in the countryside and doing the things that I love. And the article, that's at the end of his quote. And the article goes on to talk about how there's an attitude shift towards work and life with young Brits, in that in the past, people had been prioritizing success over everything else. But now people are just looking for something that's, quote, good enough. A job that's good enough. It provides you with enough of a salary so that you can pay your bills and live in a nicer apartment, a 2 or 3 bedroom, as opposed to a 0 bedroom, you know, in the city. So maybe it's a change in desire about what people are looking for in their lives.
Yeah, and I've actually saw a sort of a survey in the United States by the University of Virginia, and they also witnessed a similar trend of people going to the countryside or smaller towns in seek of more open spaces, natural beauty, and low costs. So I think, I won't say it's a bad thing that young people are leaving big cities, and I do agree that you don't have to stay in big cities looking for the next job opportunity and making more money and growing up the hierarchy in the society, but you can choose to enjoy a slower life with close to the nature with lower costs. It's also fine. I think these shift in attitudes maybe are leading us to a better society in the future.
You think so?
Yeah.
It might take a couple of decades to do more studies on that to figure out.
I know, the attitudes of these young people seems to be very negative, that they start to lose energy. They don't want to work hard in the big cities. But I think it sort of makes sense. If it exists, it sort of makes sense. And I think for young people that are leaving the big cities in search of other things in life, which are also valuable, it's also a good thing.
Yeah.
I really very much agree with that sentiment, because I think it's really interesting a time to be alive and witnessing all of this happen in our country. The rapid development over the past 40 plus years has brought with it an unexpected byproduct that there seems to be a common and shared logic of life that applies to everyone, as we feel, that regardless of your background, of your own situation, whether you're rich or poor, urban or rural or whatever it is, but it feels like we have a similar expectation of the future, and then everybody's working towards a similar ideal of the quote-unquote success in life.
When you say we, who are you referring to?
Everyone in society. And how frightening is that in China?
Mm-hmm.
When everyone feels, okay, I need to work to get a car. I need to work hard to get an apartment. I need to work to get a bigger apartment. And and one kid is not enough. I might need to have two. Or, okay, not everybody's thinking that. But how alarming and frightening do you think when everybody thinks that there's one cookie cutter view of success, almost like in an advertisement, and everybody's working towards that? Actually, maybe, and as these young people have demonstrated in Hegang, in Hebi, in Yanjiao, and all these different smaller cities that they're going to, they're like, and here's what I find to be inspiring, and you might say this is looking for the silver lining. That is, hey, there are other ways to look at life, and I don't need to throw my body into this grind.
Yeah.
That there are other ways of life, and I don't need to feel like a constant failure because I did not live up to that cookie cutter advertisement that is imparted to people.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's a brave decision to do that. You know, I was chatting with a colleague here who works in the building who doesn't work with us in any way, but we were having a chat, and we were talking about Chinese culture, and he said, you have to know, and this is just his opinion, but this is what he said to me, you have to know that in China, it's always on people's minds that there's 1.4 billion people in this country, and that means that the competition level is extremely high. For every decision that's made. Every decision that's made about your life is a pressure-packed decision because there's so many people that live in China. So even though I think we do see similar trends happening in Canada, we saw an exodus of people during COVID from Toronto, for example, over 300,000 people. And that's because of remote work opportunities and blah, blah, blah. But the same things that we're talking about, you know, tired of the city life, tired of the grind, want to escape to the countryside a little bit. But yet, I think if that decision is made here in China, it's an even braver decision because people in America and Canada and England, we don't have that population pressure. We don't grow up with that. So again, I think it's a very brave decision that young people are making.
And we tend to drum up on the bravery as we're doing here. But also, every individual, they're bearing their own costs. And that's the part that I like to sort of put emphasis under as well. Because it's, for some people, they feel like maybe they're giving up on going up on that social hierarchy. For some people, maybe they're just taking a rest and they feel that now I can recuperate and I'll go back into the grind, or I'll find some kind of way to sort of adjust the peace in my mind and also earning a living and hope to earn more in the future. And I think it's every individual scenario could be different kind of story, but these are real costs and only individuals can shoulder. And us sitting here applauding them or not, I feel I just don't feel it's very genuine. It's not the right word, because we are speaking out of our heart, but there are these real costs, and I just like to sort of shed some light on that. So
the opportunity cost
of
making a decision like that.
You could be missing out on something for this, but maybe it's to each their own. And as long as you find your own fulfillment and also peace of mind, because we all need that to keep going, and life is long. You know, and this could just be like a respite or maybe an important stepping stone to your next big move. Coming up next, Motivational Monday.
Motivational Mondays. Motivational Mondays.
This is the segment where we bring you motivation for the beginning of the week. And Fei Fei, I know you have something fantastic prepared.
Yeah, I have a quote, first of all, from the play by Chekhov, The Three Sisters. And it says, I often think, what if you were to begin life over again, knowing what you were doing? If one life, which has been already lived, were only a rough sketch, so to speak, and the second were the final copy, then I think every one of us would try before anything else not to repeat himself. Anyway, he would create a different setting for his life, would have a house like this with plenty of light and masses of flowers. This quote is shared by Liu Xiaoyang. She is not really famous world internationally, but it's definitely famous online here in China. In a documentary by Youku called Her Room, Liu Xiaoyang is a stay-at-home mom in a village in Shanxi province, far from the cities. And her interview back in 2002 has been widely spread on China's internet because of one sentence she said. She said, "I'd rather be in pain than to stay numb. I don't want to know nothing, then I will be satisfied. Having food to eat, clothes to wear, and a house to live is good enough. But I'm not satisfied with this. I want a fulfilling life. I want knowledge. I want to read books. I want to watch TV and get what I want from TV because I can't go out." And then she did really go out to cities and work different jobs. And then she realized, this city life is not for me. I'm really disappointed with the urban life. So then she returned to her village and started to did what she really good at, farming and taking care of her family. And in this documentary, the team spoke to Liu Xiaoyang again, and she really put forward a lot of really meaningful remarks. She said even though she lived in the village, she continued to enjoy and appreciate life in the village. She also kept reading and thinking and planted many flowers in her courtyard. And she realized that the results are not important. What really matters is the experience, the process, the learning experience and the learning process. And she knows that she's still in pain sometime of not knowing enough or not getting the things she wants, but she definitely loves the process of searching and learning through the pain. And I think I really encourage anybody to watch the two series documentaries so far. And there are so many really interesting and meaningful in-depth discussion with Liu Xiaoyang and the host Zhang Yue. And it's really inspiring, and I do encourage you to check it out.
Lots to be learned there.
Yeah, and it's somehow connected to our previous topic, isn't it?
Yeah, does she live in Heyang now?
She lives in a very remote village in Shanxi.
Okay, maybe there's a takeaway for me. You don't have to live your life the way others expect. It's your path, your story, and find your peace of mind. To wrap up today's show, I've got a song that will light up your day. Bruno Mars and Bad Meets Evil team up for Lighters. And trust me, when Eminem drops those bars, you'll know it's time to turn up the volume. So, Lighters, this one's for you. Enjoy the music. Have a beautiful Monday. And thank you so much, Steve and Fei Fei, for joining the discussion. I'm Heyang. We'll see you next time.
I open my eyes, and now all I wanna see is the sky.